Greetings and salutations, everyone. Brian Guthrie, aka Guthron, your favorite historian here. Today we're starting something new for the channel. Short takes on local history. Yes, you heard that correctly. Local history. Local to where? Glad you asked. Local to me, of course. Wherever I happen to be, I'm constantly visiting local historical sites. So I'm going to feature some on the channel. Yes, this first one is indeed a class assignment, but I like the idea and will do more in the future. So let's tuck in before the professor gets too impatient. This week we will be visiting the Whitehead Memorial Museum located in Del Rio, Texas. Where is that? Glad you asked. It's in the middle of nowhere. Seriously, there is nothing for miles and miles.
I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
Yes, you pretty much take a wrong turn somewhere to end up here, but even backwater nowhere locations like Del Rio have history. Whitehead Memorial Museum captures that local history all in one location. Look, it even has a historical marker. Actually, it has two, for those adventurers out to see as many as they can. Del Rio itself has several markers to visit to add to your lists. Today, we're only interested in the museum. First, let's take a look at the location from the government's favorite view, satellites. There we go. Not the best view, but it will do. Founded 60 years ago, the site has grown to occupy just over 2 acres of land and holds the distinction of being Del Rio's only full-time public museum. Once only occupying a single building, the site boasts 19 buildings, many original ones relocated to the site. It holds more than 30 exhibits and even includes a section of the San Felipe Irrigation Canal. The exhibits range from a blacksmith shop to a war room to a massive nativity collection that contains pieces that are over 80 years old. However, I'm getting ahead of myself. The first building, the oldest commercial structure in the Del Rio community, was once called the Perry Mercantile Building, henceforth simply the Perry Building. Built by Mexican Indians, the building served a multi-purpose role. For many years it was the general store for the region, a home for a time, and even a meeting place for the county and Freemasons. The Whitehead family, specifically Della Whitehead and her daughter Rose Marie Rosie Whitehead Jones, purchased the building in 1962 and gave it to Del Rio and Val Verde County on the condition it be kept as a museum to hold the history of the region. The women hoped the museum would teach generations to come what early settler life entailed in the 19th century. The museum now holds many donated relics that are preserved in fruition of Della and Rosie's dream. Focusing on the Perry Building, the structure is composed of multiple parts. 2 floors plus a side wing along the north side. This image, believed to be from the 1960s, shows what the structure most likely looked like when it was converted into a museum. During its heyday, the Perrys ran the largest general store between San Antonio and El Paso. The first floor serves as the current museum's entrance and is home to the gift shop. The wing along the north side is home to the war room. The second floor contains relics set up to imitate a home. Returning to the main floor, this floor features more than just gifts. Inside, you will find art pieces that are both relics and pictures into the past, like this one depicting the Perry General Store in 1869. This was painted by someone who signed it simply La Lo. Seriously, see? The director had no more information than that. Sounds like they need a historian. Over time, the building has shown its age, which allows visitors to glimpse how it was originally constructed. Here, we can see a metal bar installed inside the structure near the front and rear, and secured to the walls using metal pieces shaped like an X on the outside. This helped keep the structure from falling out to the side. We can also see how the rocks were stacked to form the walls and even where they placed a wood beam to provide extra structural support. Even the original fireplace, built with the structure over 150 years ago, remains a part of the building. The main floor served as the general store, and for a time, the Perry family lived upstairs on the second floor until a home could be built just behind the store. However, that house no longer exists. As such, the museum duplicated what a home from the late 19th and early 20th century might have looked like on the second floor of the Perry building. Inside, you will find period-appropriate furniture, clothing, dolls, and much more, all donated by the citizens of Del Rio over the 60 years the museum has operated. There's even a lamp with a distinctly Texan touch, in case you forget what state you're most likely lost in if you've made it all the way to Del Rio. Last stop on this route before crossing over into Mexico. The War Room hosts a series of relics from conflicts dating as far back as the Civil War, with a display on the Cuban Missile Crisis, Laughlin Air Force Base, and much more. Beyond the Perry Building, you will find plenty of activities and exhibits, all beckoning to a bygone era in a town's past. As you can see here, there are several exhibits worth visiting, including a storytelling room hosting interactive dioramas telling the history of the region, as well as a scouting lodge, a radio station, doctor's office, blacksmith shop, log cabin, and much, much more. But the first exhibit you should stop by is a replica building of the infamous Judge Roy Bean's Jersey Lilly Saloon, courthouse, and jail. Oh no, Groot, what did you do to Roy Bean? You didn't pee on his grave, did you? Yes, his grave is here too. More on that later. Fantley Roy Bean lived from... Wait, Fantley? Yeah, I'd go by Roy also. Anyway, he lived from 1825 to 1903 and has been depicted in literature and movies as the hanging judge, despite only actually hanging 2 men in his career as a judge. 2 that we know of. He once had his own encounter with a rope. Quite the memorable experience, as he survived but sported a rope burn and a stiff neck the rest of his life. He was more well known as the quirky judge who rendered unusual verdicts that often lined his pockets, sometimes the pockets of locals or allies, but never the pockets of the state coffers. Once he found a dead man after the poor soul fell to his death from a bridge. His excuse? The man was carrying an unregistered gun. Another time, when facing an Irish mob outside the Jersey Lilly, angry over one of their own standing trial for killing a Chinese railroad worker, Judge Roy Bean dismissed the charges because his version of the Texas law book contained no law against shooting a Chinaman. That was the common vernacular of the time. Maybe if the judge had replaced his 1879 edition of the Revised Statutes of Texas with one of the many sent his way by post rather than using them as kindling, that verdict might have been different. Or maybe not. After all, he was operating a saloon and didn't want to scare off his customers. Customers that often included the jury pool he recruited to sit in during his quick trials. We could spend a lot more time on the judge, however this video is already long in the tooth. Perhaps that's another video for the future. When Judge Bean died, he was buried in San Antonio. However, tourists desiring souvenirs began chipping away at his gravestone and trampling nearby graves. When his son, Roy Bean, died later in Del Rio, they decided to move the judge's body to be near his son and away from the prying crowds. The 2 are buried at the Whitehead Memorial Museum just behind the Replica Jersey Lilly Courthouse and Saloon. Located toward the rear of the site, there are 2 other locations that weren't mentioning, one of note to historians and the other to just about everyone else. First up, we come to the Daughtrey Research Center, a local archive maintained by the museum. It's free for entrance to research and contains a diverse collection of source materials, including archival copies of the Del Rio News Herald newspaper. However, it's in need of some cataloging and organizing. Hint hint, budding local historians. Last, but most definitely not the least, stands an awe-inspiring display of cultural folk art that contains pieces over 80 years old. Yes, I did hint at it before. It's the Cadena Nativity, a massive nativity scene featured in national collection listings that measures 32 feet in length, 20 feet in depth, and reaches as high as 10 feet in some parts. Beatriz Rodriguez Cadena, a devoted member of the San Felipe and Del Rio community, started collecting pieces in 1940 when she was 20 years old. She continued expanding the collection, scouring every place she went to find just the right pieces. Some are custom painted figurines from artists across the Americas, including some from Mexico City. She set it up in a room in her house and opened it up for children in the community to come see every Christmas season. Just before she died, she declared it finished. After her death, her family locked up the room and left it in there for many, many years. The discovery of a roof leak damaging the collection motivated them to approach the museum to donate what was considered a mainstay of the local culture and community. After several years of work, the museum accepted the collection and displays it year-round for all to see, making only minor changes to surfaces in their effort to preserve Miss Cadena's vision. Having stood in that room, it is well worth the visit. Expect to be there a moment if you really want to take it all in. There is much, much more for you to see. They even have a train car you can get in. This time of year, the courtyard is decorated for their Christmas event with lights, lawn ornaments, and fun for all ages. So, next time you're lost in Texas or on your way to Mexico and you bump into a little hole-in-the-wall town called Del Rio, be sure to stop by and check out the Whitehead Memorial Museum. And when you're done, go visit the nearby local vineyard for some cheese and wine.